Employ Prince George's is hosting a laid-off federal workers career fair here in Prince George's County. I'm Bryce Parker. We'll have that story and more coming up on CTV News.
Crash at Reagan Airport leads to new bans, and the county school system is hosting a free flu clinic. Those stories and more on CTV News starting now. Good evening, this is CTV News for March 12th. I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Amid mass layoffs to federal workers, Employ Prince George's hosted the Federal Employee Career Transition Resource Fair. CTV's Bryce Parker is in College Park with more.
Thank you again for being here. We are here to serve you.
We will not let one of our most valuable resources go to waste, and that is you.
Local and state leaders gathered today to provide assistance to federal workers impacted by recent government layoffs.
This is not a moment to retreat. It's a moment to step up, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
This federal workers career fair, headed by Employ Prince George's, featured job opportunities in both the public and private sector, a response fueled by their distaste of the new executive branch's actions.
The method to reshape the federal government is unsettling at best. And I know that your lives have been rattled.
So far, it has almost been, I guess, somewhat surreal. You know, like the entire department basically just gets cut almost.
I think that we're going to see a lot more of these job fairs because of the current economic situation with the Trump administration. They laid off 80,000 people with the Veterans Administration alone.
The federal government makes up 11% of Maryland's GDP and 15% of wages earned in Prince George's County, making federal layoffs feel like a personal attack to everyday Prince Georgians.
For me personally, I was a probationary worker at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and then I was let go, terminated with all the probationaries.
Assistance and aid services like SNAP and unemployment were available to laid-off workers like Cameron, who are now adjusting to their new way of life.
Things like that, which I've personally never had to get on before, but now I kind of have to because, you know, I've gone 3-4 weeks without a check. So I hope the governments continue doing stuff like this to help people out who have been impacted by all these changes.
The Moore-Miller administration has opened up online resources for laid-off federal workers, including over 100,000 available jobs across the state of Maryland, providing hope and opportunity for workers whose futures are unknown. Reporting in College Park, I'm Bryce Parker, CTV News.
All right, Bryce, thanks so much for that report. Over 73,000 federal employees call Prince George's County home. Meanwhile, Maryland Democrats introduced a bipartisan bill aimed at helping probationary workers. The Protect Our Probationary Employees Act would ensure that some federal workers fired since Trump took office would get credit for the time they already worked as probationary workers if they are rehired. Supporters held a news conference outside the Capitol this afternoon.
The firing, particularly of probationary employees, especially impacts workers of my generation, people who are early or mid-career. The folks I'm standing with today, like Daniel, Ashley, and Maddie, they were on a path to be the next generation of leaders in our civil service. They were hardworking public servants with excellent performance reviews who were fired because of no fault of their own, but only because as probationary employees, one with only 1 day left in his probationary status, they had fewer protections than other federal workers.
Elon Musk has been illegally firing federal employees, and when we get them restored to their jobs, Elon Musk doesn't get to reset the clock and erase the good work that they've already done on behalf of the American people and the time that they put into that effort. So,
while some Republicans have signed on to the measure, it has a slim chance of passing in the GOP-controlled Congress. As many as 29,000 federal workers in Maryland have already been fired or will be impacted by the Trump administration's actions. About half of those are probationary workers. And more than 1,000 employees at the Department of Education will be laid off as a part of the Trump administration's plan to cut the federal workforce. More than 1,300 employees will be terminated when the layoffs take effect March 21st and will affect hundreds of workers at the D.C. headquarters. This means the department will be reduced to half its size since President Trump took office in January. Trump has also said he plans to completely shut down the Department of Education to reduce the government's role in education. And Maryland's newest senator, Angela Alsobrooks, introduces her first bill in Congress aimed at studying the impact of tariffs on Mexico and Canada. President Trump claims his tariffs will only cause minimal disruption to the economy. The Tariff Transparency Act would require the U.S. International Trade Commission to assess the impact of tariffs on imports and any potential threats. Alsobrooks argues the Trump administration knows tariffs will hurt consumers and small businesses and challenges them to prove otherwise. And a new warning from the National Transportation Safety Board: helicopter flights near Reagan National must stop to avoid mid-air collisions. The call for a permanent ban comes after a January 29th crash between a U.S. Army Black Hawk and a commercial jet, killing 67 people. The FAA is backing the NTSB's recommendations, moving to restrict helicopter operations and separate them from fixed-wing traffic.
We are also recommending that the FAA designate an alternative helicopter route that can be used to facilitate travel between Haynes Point and the Wilson Bridge when that segment of Route 4 is closed.
That's how we honor them. That's how we pay it forward. And we do it by fixing the system and making it better and making it work. So again, to the recommendations that the NTSB have given us off this crash, we are adopting. We accept them. We were actually doing them 36 hours after the crash. And we'll look forward to hearing more from the NTSB as their recommendations and investigations continue.
The FAA is also using AI to identify other high-risk airports where safety upgrades are needed. And Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, along with a coalition of attorneys general, won a lawsuit blocking the administration from withholding teacher preparation grants. Last month, the Department of Education cut funding for teacher training programs nationwide. This had an impact on Maryland's efforts to address its teacher shortage. Brown and 8 other attorneys general filed the lawsuit, and a judge ruled Tuesday to temporarily block the decision. And Maryland's House of Delegates has voted to tweak Governor Wes Moore's blueprint for Maryland's future, keeping most of the proposed spending intact. Democratic leaders argue their version safeguards a crucial long-term education strategy, showing positive results. Key changes include a 1-year pause instead of a multi-year one, on increasing teacher planning time, and the rejection of proposed funding cuts for community schools. Delegates also pushed back against cuts to funding for students in poverty and English learners, ensuring vital resources stay in place for Maryland's public schools. And the county school district is seeing an uptick in flu cases among its students, and to address the serious issue, PGCPS hosts a free flu clinic today. The clinic is being held at James Madison Middle School in Upper Marlboro until 7 this evening. This actually comes after 2 county students recently died from the flu. School officials say as of now, they have 30 schools that have a higher than normal number of kids out sick because of the flu. Students whose parents gave them permission were able to get the flu shot during school hours. And CTV News spoke with Dr. Tracy Jones, and she explains why some parents weren't getting their children vaccinated.
A lot of it is a knowledge deficit, and so it's really important that parents talk to their providers and ask them about the flu. We're actually on kind of the tail end of flu clinics right now. Really and truly, flu vaccines, we could really start in August.
They go to PG County schools. I'm a school bus PG County driver, so we're all around kids every day. And with the recent influx of flu cases, I wanted to just come out and get us protected this year because it seems like it's pretty bad.
School officials say that they are not enforcing a mask mandate. However, they are highly encouraging masks for schools dealing with a flu outbreak. And the body of a missing person has been found in a pond in Bowie. According to Bowie police, they received a call about a missing woman at the 1200 block of Durham Drive yesterday morning. Maryland State Police ultimately found the woman in a pond near the 14,900 block of Dunley Drive. The victim was pronounced dead on the scene. The body has been taken to the office of the chief medical examiner, and Prince George's police are investigating the incident. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come, could federal cuts for SNAP be on the way? After the break, learn more about how more than 100 mayors are coming together to ensure that doesn't happen. We'll be right back.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. Thanks to your donations, we're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Welcome back. We now have new details into the fatal crash that stemmed from an attempted traffic stop and left one child dead. 2 District Heights police officers have now been identified, the first as first-class officer Shivesh Bhutani and Sergeant Byron Stevens. The Capitol Heights officer involved is Michael Montgomery. After a failed traffic stop, 2 officers located an SUV that crashed into 4 other vehicles. One of the cars hit had a woman and child inside. Both were taken to the hospital where the child later died, and the Attorney General's office will be withholding her identity in accordance with juvenile privacy laws. Meanwhile, Prince George's police are still investigating a deadly crash in Hyattsville. The crash happened at the 5400 block of Tuxedo Road on February 24th. Investigation shows 31-year-old Sharibi Rouse was traveling eastbound, then crossed westbound and hit the other vehicle. Rouse was taken to the hospital where he later died, and the second driver suffered minor injuries. Police are still trying to determine the reasons behind the crash. And with federal cuts coming at breakneck speed, more than 110 mayors across the country have signed a bipartisan letter urging Congress to protect and fully fund federal nutrition programs. One of those signing on to the letter is New Carrollton Mayor Katrina Dodro. She is a member of the Mayor's Alliance to End Childhood Hunger. The letter comes as Congress is considering cuts to nutrition programs that feeds millions.
We realize that funds are tight at the federal level, but that is an opportunity for us to tell Congress, please don't cut this funding. We have to feed our kids, and people are working so hard to make ends meet. And we all know the price of groceries, all of the prices that have gone up. We all talk about eggs, but all the other prices have gone up too. So even when parents are trying really hard, they have to make tough decisions. And just knowing that we're trying to take this food away from kids is disheartening. We cannot move forward and have a bright future in this country if we don't take care of our children.
The letter makes specific reference to SNAP, WIC, and school lunch programs for lawmakers to consider. Those programs feed more than 77 million people in America. And Annapolis advocates for so-called just cause eviction laws may finally get their bill passed this year. but it may come at the cost of other renter protections under a plan being considered by Senate leaders. Advocates have been trying for 10 years to pass a law that would make it harder for landlords to kick out tenants without citing a good reason for doing so. But lawmakers say the state is facing a housing shortage of 96,000 units, and they fear too many protections will drive developers away. An amendment would allow counties to pursue good cause evictions or rent stabilization efforts, but not both. Senate Bill 651 is still in committee. And the Prince George's County Council is introducing a new bill to improve neighborhood safety. Council Bill 19 focuses on conducting traffic studies to evaluate speed hump installations on residential streets, streamlining requests, and setting clear timelines for decision-making. It also outlines the approval process for speed humps and speed monitoring systems, ensuring safer streets in the county.
We've heard firsthand a lot of complaints from the community around how the process is now. The neighborhood traffic management program is something that exists, but the issue is making sure it's done in a timely fashion and that communities are notified and that the process is streamlined.
Governor Wes Moore's job approval rating is above 50% despite the fact that it continues to slip. According to a new Gonzalez Research and Media poll, the governor has a job approval rating of 55%, while 36% of people surveyed disapproves of his job performance. In this poll, residents are concerned about the cost of energy and the direction of the state. Just last January, Moore had a 61% job approval rating, and the poll surveyed 804 registered Maryland voters. And still to come on CTV News, did you get enough sleep last night? A recent study shows many Americans are not getting consistent sleep. Find out what's keeping everyone up after the break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Got one of these hanging on the wall? You're qualified. One of these? You're qualified too. Love a good checklist? Qualified. 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 Yep, qualified.
Because if you know how to put up anything in your home,
you're qualified to save lives by installing free smoke alarms in your community. Go to soundthealarm.org to find a volunteer event near you.
Monday was Harriet Tubman Day, and the Maryland Department of Transportation announced archaeological findings from a home that famed the abolitionists once lived in. The artifacts were found at the site of Ben Ross's home, the home where a teenage Harriet Tubman lived with her father in Dorchester County. The Ross home, which is deep in the wetlands of the Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge, is not open to the public. However, MDOT created a virtual museum to share the history and interesting artifacts found. We spoke to MDOT chief archaeologist on how these findings help tell the story of Harriet Tubman.
One of the artifacts we found was a tobacco pipe with a bald eagle on it.
An interesting thing about these clay tobacco pipes is that when people would smoke them in social settings, they would a lot of times have, the pipes themselves would have political slogans or symbols on them that would kind of, non-verbally communicate which political affiliation they had. So for me to find a pipe bowl with an eagle on it, I wondered if Harriet Tubman was smoking it, if Rick Green, her mother, was smoking it, or even Ben Ross, what that would have communicated to the public. Did they have, of course, aspirations at the time for freedom? Did it mean something else? And I wonder and think about the different forms of resistance they had there in that wetland during the 19th century.
To check out those artifacts, to learn more about the Ben Ross home, visit m.maryland.gov and search Tubman. And Americans are losing sleep, and stress may be to blame. A new U.S. News and World Report survey finds 40% of Americans wake up frequently, and 1 in 5 gets just 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. The biggest culprits: stress, screen time, and caffeine. While 43% say they're going to bed earlier to improve sleep, many are also turning to smart beds, weighted blankets, and relaxation techniques.
Take a look at your mattress. A lot of people that I find are sleeping on mattresses that are past their prime. And I would say after 10 years, the materials inside your bed, they've done a good job of supporting you up until this point, but it might be time to put it to rest, like for real. Might be time to just replace the whole thing altogether. And if that is the case, if you're noticing maybe the surface isn't super even, or it's just not as supportive as it once was, or I'm having back pain, shoulder pain, sort of issues like that, it might be time to sit down and really think, hey, it's time for a replacement.
Experts say cutting screen time, limiting caffeine, and improving sleep environments could be game changers. It's time for our pet of the week. Meet Annabelle. She's a 1-year-old white and gray Holland rabbit. She's been at the shelter since the 5th. Animal management say that Annabelle is ready to hop into her forever home.
I recommend a household with older children, just because rabbits can be fragile and we don't want them to get hurt with younger kids. So I would recommend a family with older kids. They do have toys for rabbits. They like the wooden toys they can chew. Just because their teeth are, they grow pretty quickly, and it helps keep them trimmed down.
If you would like to adopt Annabelle or any of her hopping friends, call Animal Management at 301-780-7200. All right, stay right there. Simon Buggs is here with our Wednesday sports page.
Hey there, sports fans, don't go anywhere because I have some exciting high school basketball highlights for you coming right up on CTV Sports. Be right back.
This is my house. My parents helped build it. Now we don't get wet when it rains. I don't get too hot or too cold inside. And I don't have to worry when the winds blow. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house. My house.
My house. I can play with my sister. I can play with my brother. I can play with my mother, my father, my family.
My family. My family.
This is my house.
This is my house.
I can study. I can be safe with my family. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
My house.
My house.
This is my house.
Visit Habitat.org to find out how you can help more families like mine have a safe, decent place to call home.
Wake up and clear the clutter. Send your old electronics packing. In Maryland, you can e-cycle through many manufacturers or through your county, and usually it's free. Visit mde.maryland.gov/e-cycling to find out how to recycle electronics in your county. mde.maryland.gov/e-cycling.
Our individual voices are powerful, but not everything has a voice. Let us be a voice to the voiceless, the caretakers our home deserves. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that when we all come together, the sky is the limit. It's time to speak up for nature.
All right, everyone, it's finally time for your Wednesday sports page. Let's get into it. We begin with some exciting playoff basketball highlights. The Flowers girls basketball squad was in Waldorf last night, taking the court against Western High School in the state semifinal round of the playoffs. In the first quarter, the Lady Jaguars got off to a bit of a slow start and found themselves down 8-2 to start the period. But Flowers offense woke up a little towards the end of the quarter, and this finished in the lane by Ava Redmond, as well as his putback shot from guard and forward Alana Joy, helped the team only be down 10-9 going into the second quarter. And in the second, Western was able to maintain their lead through the majority of it. But some good defense from Flowers, like this block by Joy, and number 23, Brooke Mitchell, showing nice hustle as she grabbed the rebound after the miss and put it back up, helped cut the Lady Doves' lead to just 1. And with this bucket from Redmond, Flowers was able to take the lead at 16-15. And Flowers kept the lead for the rest of the way and went into halftime up 19-16. Moving on to the third quarter, Western was able to tie the game eventually at 22, all thanks to this finish inside from senior Jaden Hunt. And from there, the Lady Doves offense went berserk. These made jumpers from Western by Kayla Maxwell, Hunt, and Talia Bailey helped the team outscore Flowers 24-8 in the quarter. And because of this, they were going into the fourth up 40-27. In the fourth quarter, though, Flowers made things interesting, as with this steal and layup from guard Kyla Graham, her team was now only down single digits at 40-32. And Western's lead got smaller and smaller as Flowers kept chipping away. And after these two made free throws by Joy, her team tied the game at 47 all with a little over a minute left. But then Hunt came down the lane, and after grabbing her own miss, she made this and-one putback shot as well as this free throw to put her team ahead 50-47 with 52 seconds left. And that was a nail in the coffin as Flowers fell short of their comeback, losing to the Lady Doves 53-49. And there will be even more high school action tonight as Largo will continue their state title defense against Dunbar, Laurel will match up against Meade, and lastly, Flowers look to book their trip to the state championship game when they take on Walt Whitman. Meanwhile, the Terps men's basketball team held their final practice today in preparation for the Big Ten tournament. The team will take the court on Friday in Indianapolis for the big game. After the team's tournament run is finished, they will then shift their focus to March Madness, which begins on the 20th. And guard Rodney Rice touched on the importance of making sure his team plays their best brand of basketball in the Big Ten tournament as they prepare to make a deep run come late March.
It's always nice to carry momentum from that. So winning games in the Big Ten tournament is a priority for that fact. It'll definitely help us go far into March Madness, getting a rhythm and all that.
Man, make sure y'all tune into that game. I know I will. And wrapping up today's sports page, the Washington Capitals took down the Anaheim Ducks last night, 7-4. This is the Caps' 5th win in a row, and they'll be in the City of Angels tomorrow, taking on the Los Angeles Kings at 10:30. Back to you, Michaela.
All right, Simon, thanks so much. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight will be mostly clear. Tomorrow, expect some fog on the roads before 10 a.m. It's going to be 57 degrees. Friday, it's going to be mostly cloudy with a high of 59 and a low of 46. Saturday, it'll be 73 degrees, and we have a 40 to 50% chance of rain throughout the day. Now let's take a look at our community calendar. This Friday, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, is hosting a chat and chew session. Come learn about mental health support services provided by NAMI's Prince George's chapter, meet advocates for mental health wellness, and help champion for quality care. This event takes place from 4 to 7 p.m. For more information, contact 240-467-5948. That's all the time we have for CTV News. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.